Welcome. Welcome to First Thursdays with Sustainable Tulsa. We appreciate you all being here today. We're going to get started. We have a very full program today. There's more seats up here if you're looking. So First Thursdays, we meet each month here at TCC Center for Creativity, and we thank TCC, Mike Lemus and Cindy and their team for hosting us each time. We also want to give a thanks to PSO as our lead sponsor, Cavanta, TCC Creativity Center, Mike McCann, and McCann Law, PSO Wind Choice, as well as Grog Screen Barn for sponsoring First Thursdays. Let's give them a round of applause. I also want to thank my board members that if I missed you because I haven't seen you walk in, Mike Lemus. We also have a past board member that's helping out today, Joanne Ferguson. We appreciate her being here. So we thank them and our volunteer team today. Just a reminder, we compost with full sun composting, so at the end of the day, if you have anything left over, see the composting bins there, and also TCC manages the recycling here for our meeting. Many of you are aware that we're also involved with a business program called Scorecard. We have approximately 40 members that are participating now that we look to hopefully verify this season. And last year we had 32 that were involved, and so we're excited to see this growth that's happening. Our next B2B will be covering some of the results of that with several of our programs. So our B2B Case for Sustainability series is a quarterly series that we also offer, and that will be next Thursday at OU Tulsa. And our panelists will include, we'll have Robert Pickens from American Waste, and if you have ever had any question about recycling, Robert can answer that for you. And he'll be talking about commodity issues and things like that. Cindy Splitter from One Oak, I think she's here, maybe wave. Yeah, there she is. She's going to be talking about they kicked off, reinvigorated the recycling program and some amazing results there. We also have Richard Cox from Spirit Aerosystems that will be with us, and Fenton Rude from DEQ, and it'll be moderated by Matt Newman from Cavanta. And we'll have vendors as well. So it's going to be full-bodied, B2B. Definitely, we'll send out another email today to invite you to participate, but it'll be a great program if you're interested in any, reduce, reuse, recycle, solid waste issues. It'll be fabulous. We have, again, so much to do today in the name of the Monarch butterfly. But before we kick off, I want to invite Mike Lemus up here to share with you one of the things they're working on as one of our scorecard members.
Good afternoon and welcome. I chair the TCC Sustainability Committee, and we're putting together a strategic sustainability plan, and we need your help. We're gathering input from employees, students, and community members. You are an important community constituent group. We're looking for input as it relates to our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities to improve, and potential threats to sustainability in our institution. I have 4 sheets over on the TCC table to your left or right, wherever you're oriented in the room. Against the windows is a better way to put it. And if you get a chance today, please give us your feedback. The tasks are described on each sheet. And if you're not able to do it today, think about it for next month, because I'll be back next month asking for input as well. So we're not going to give up. Thank you for your time and your consideration, and please take a moment, if you will, if you don't have any input specifically for today, take a look at what we're looking for and come back next month and give us some feedback. Thank you so much. Corey?
And we just love to hear, our scorecard members keep progressing forward on ways to improve their organizations and really Tulsa from the strength of sustainability. So applaud your efforts, and we're glad to help participate in that. So definitely come with your ideas. They want to hear those. I have to say, I have to give Marcy a little kudos. Where are you, Marcy? You're out here somewhere. There she is, way in the back there with Monarchs on the Mountain. Marcy, I think 3-4 years ago, was talking to me about the challenges of the monarch population, and from there it simulated having a presentation, and then we, for the past three 3 or 4 years now, we've been giving out milkweed and just learning about all the different community members that are focused on wanting to bring awareness to this and help to protect this particular species that's also not only probably dear to our hearts as children and as parents and things like that, but also that indicator species that there are other challenges out there that we need to be mindful of. So we have incredible panelists today. And so Marcy, thank you for that brief conversation we had and what you've stimulated. And now every year we want to continue to talk about monarchs, and so many other organizations are doing that as well. So it's great to see that. And at the end, we'll pass the mic so you can see what some of the other organizations are doing. But without further ado, we have an amazing panel of experts here. So I'm going to introduce them, and then they're going to share with you about what's going on in our state. So first, we'll hear from Jay Pruett. He was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and grew up in Oklahoma City. He graduated from Rice University in Houston, Texas, and majored in biology. In 2003, he joined the Nature Conservancy as the Director of Conservation in the Oklahoma chapter and is responsible for the development and implementation of conservation initiatives for the state program and oversees the management of the Nature Conservancy's preserves there. He also acts as the representative to federal, state, and local conservation agencies and organizations. He's involved with the wind energy and electric transmission siting issues in regard to wildlife habitat at the state and national levels. He enjoys hiking, birding, of course, natural photography, and collecting natural history books and antiques and history prints and things like that. So that's Jay, so let's applaud him. Next, we have Christina da Silva. She is originally from Republic of Panama, and she immigrated to the U.S. at about when she was 5 years old, and she moved to Nebraska and living various places in the U.S. She graduated from Western Washington University in 2010. Currently, Christina works full-time as the assistant to the mayor for community development and policy, focusing on public health initiatives and outreach for the Tulsa immigrant community. She's coordinating the City of Tulsa's New Tulsans initiative, which is focused on developing a citywide strategy plan focused on removing barriers for immigrant integration. Christina is also a graduate level student at Oklahoma State University in the Human Development and Family Sciences Department, where she also provides support for research projects at OSU Center for Family Resilience. In 2018, Christina was named People to Watch by Tulsa World. Let's welcome Christina. So when I was reviewing this, I realized that Jay and Rick basically grew up in the same town. Didn't realize that. So he's also from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania originally, but he has been living in Tulsa since 1981. He graduated from Broken Arrow High School and holds 2 bachelor's of science degree, one in biology and one in wildlife and fisheries ecology management from Oklahoma State University. He earned his master's degree in museum studies and leadership from University of Oklahoma. He's currently the curator of wildlife conservation and scientific advancement at the Tulsa Zoo and has worked there since 1989. Rick oversees all the zoo grounds and green practices, programs, including the zoo's scorecard and Sustainable Tulsa Scorecard coach for the Tulsa Drillers. He currently chairs the Monarch Initiative of Tulsa, serves on the board of directors for Oxley Nature Center, and serves on the steering committee member for Oklahoma Monarch and Pollinator Collaborative, and co-chairs the Urban Education Outreach Committee for the Oklahoma Monarchs and Pollinator Collective. That was long. He also currently serves as Sustainable Tulsa Programs Committee, as well as the National Professional Development Committee for the Association of Zoos and Aquariums. In his spare time, I can't believe he has it, he has been an avid home brewer for 30 years and is a member of the Fellowship of Oklahoma Ale Makers. Let's welcome Rick as well. All right. So I think we're going to start with Jay, and then they'll each share a little bit, and then we'll have time for questions at the end there. So, all right, here we go. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Corey. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. We've been hearing a lot about pollinators in the last few years, and there's good reasons for that. And I want to talk a little bit about that. So why pollinators? Well, there are three big reasons why they are important, and they're the same focal points that Sustainable Tulsa has. It's planet, people, and profit. And when we look at the first thing, which is really important to me, is the planet, and that is maintaining the health of the planet and its working ecosystems. Pollinators pollinate more than 800 native plants in the U.S. alone. The plants that they pollinate could not reproduce without them, and those plants then contribute to enhanced biodiversity, stability of soils, cleansing of air and water, providing food for wildlife. Really, the base of the food chain depends on pollinators. What about people? We may not know it. We depend on those little suckers too. Fruits, vegetables, nuts, beans, peas, berries, seeds, herbs, a lot of things that we eat and probably ate here today are there only because there are insect pollinators to pollinate them. And also, fiber. Anybody wearing cotton today? No cotton without pollinators. So very important to people directly. And of course, with this much importance to us, it's going to have a big bearing on the economy. Pollinators play a key role in the economy of the U.S., food and fiber production. Pollinators pollinate 75% of the crops in the U.S. 75%, that's a lot. Just the crops alone are worth more than $30 billion, and that's not even counting the businesses and companies that are directly and indirectly affected or involved in the food and fiber industry, from growing to distribution to sales to consumption. So what's the concern about pollinators? Well, pollinators are in trouble. For the past couple of decades, there have been major declines in the numbers of most species of pollinators, be they bees or beetles or butterflies or moths or whatever. The loss of habitat from conversion by people into different things, but pesticide use, changing agricultural practices, invasive species, climate change, weather extremes, all those things have contributed to the decline of pollinators. In essence, it's not enough habitat for the pollinators that we need. So we've also heard a lot about monarchs. And I got to admit, I've never heard as much about any environmental topic as I've heard about monarchs. And for good reason. Monarchs are pollinators. Not really good ones, but they are pollinators. They can be found over most of the country. They have undergone severe population declines in the last couple of decades. They are known and recognized by virtually everybody. The declines have been obvious to many people. They just don't see as many as they used to during migrations. Their migration itself is a wondrous natural event that stands up there with anything else you can think of in nature as being accomplished by this little insect. And monarchs really aren't disliked by anybody. Everybody loves monarchs. But monarchs face the same threats that all the other pollinators do, all those same key threats, loss of habitat and pesticides and the whole works. So anything that's going to be helpful to monarchs is also going to be helpful to pollinators in general. And the monarch serves as, and it serves well, as the poster insect, if you will, for all pollinators. Their plight, their plea for help, the monarch is the one doing the speaking because, as I just said, everybody loves monarchs. The Save the Monarch movement and all of its different aspects really has had a dramatic appeal and a widespread appeal to almost everyone. Well, why Oklahoma? Well, as you can see on the migration map here for the monarchs, they start down here in Mexico in the winter, and they go north up here to their breeding habitat, and when they do that, they go right through Oklahoma. And then after a couple of generations, they come back down to Mexico, right through Oklahoma. So we are right in the middle of the path of their life cycle. So what happens here in native habitat affects monarchs and their success. So what's Oklahoma doing? Well, there's a lot of people concerned about monarchs and pollinators in general. And like many other states, we have gotten people together that have that interest. And we had a Monarch Summit in November of 2016. There were more than 40 organizations and a lot of people representing a lot of different local efforts to try to do things to save the monarchs. But after 2 days of meetings, we all agreed that we want to try to coordinate some kind of a statewide plan so that we can help save the monarchs effectively and efficiently instead of all doing our own little thing in our own corner. So we decided we wanted to make a plan for action. The Oklahoma Monarch and Pollinator Collaborative was created at that meeting. So the collaborative has spent all of 2017 developing the Oklahoma Monarch and Pollinator Plan. And this is worked by a lot of voluntary people that got together and worked on different aspects of this. It was overseen by a steering committee, and Rick and I were both had the privilege of being able to work on that. We were assisted by a great facilitator who had experience with that sort of thing. And the plan was completed in November, and it outlines coordination and collaboration efforts statewide to, again, produce that efficient and effective trying to help the monarch. It also provides resources to anybody who's interested in trying to help the monarch themselves, whether they're an individual, a corporation, a ranch, whatever. So the plan is now being implemented. It actually started implementation in April of this year, and our kind of face of this plan to the public is called okiesformonarchs.org, and you can go to the website for that, and you'll see information there that relates to events and activities and locations and projects, resources about where to get plants, what kind of plants to plant if you want to do it in your yard or in your corporation or on your ranch. It will also include best management practices developed for each of those types of land use and others, such as roadways and utility rights-of-way and that sort of thing. And it'll also talk about research that has been done and research that will be done. So there's a lot of information. It's all still being developed, but the beginning of it is on Okies for Monarchs. So please check that out. So my question to you is, what are you doing? What do you think is your role? Because every one of you here, in either your business role or your home role or your hobby role, can play a role. Pollination assistance in the way of habitat improvement can be provided almost anywhere in the state, except maybe in the middle of a lake. And anybody can do it. Individuals, groups, companies, anybody. Small scale, large scale, it doesn't matter, they all help. And there are many ways in which to get involved. So I encourage you to go to Okies for Monarchs and look and see where the one is that you might be able to do. And unlike many other projects, this is something that individuals can do something and really make a difference. So please help us, help the pollinators by helping the monarchs, and our world, our civilization will be a better place for that. Thank you. Okay. This one is?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Pruett. And hello, everyone. My name is Christina da Silva. I know some faces that I know I've worked with before, but for those of you that I do not know, I serve with the Mayor's Office, Office of Community Development and Policy, and as the assistant there, I have two focus areas. One, which is public health, and also working to find pathways for immigrants to be more successful and feel welcome here in Tulsa. So similar to the monarch butterfly, I have also immigrated from Central America to Oklahoma. And so it's actually a symbol that resonates with me personally, as it does for many folks who travel. And I love the fashion that we also have here. So much beautiful people wearing butterfly skirts or butterfly T-shirts. I'm impressed. I wish I had thought of that myself before. But I just wanted to also let you know, I also serve in the mayor's office as a representative or a liaison for different initiatives, including the Tulsa Health Department's Community Health Improvement Plan. I also serve on the Tulsa Authority for the Recovery of Energy Board with our city, and then also on the City Parks and Recreation Department Board. And so when the mayor was originally approached by actually a city employee, her name is Sheila Vega. I've actually never personally met her. If she's here, you were the one that started this. You should be up here. She actually emailed the mayor and asked, what are you doing? You know, she asked that exact question that Mr. Pruett just asked. What are you doing for our city? And so I know some of the backstory now that I've met Rick and now that I know Sheila. It's impressed me so much just how much the community has been mobilizing around this effort. Especially, Laura Chalice from the Tulsa Garden Center and the National Wildlife Federation, the Monarch's initiative in Tulsa. All of these initiatives were brought to our attention, and it made us realize what an exciting opportunity for the city to partner. So some of you, transitioning from that point, some of you are aware that the city of Tulsa has a citywide plan with several specific outcomes that we have pledged to work towards. And those involve improving the city experience, increasing opportunities for Tulsans, also improving the well-being for all of our Tulsa residents. And under each of those categories, there are very specific actions that we list out. As part of those actions, we also identify how the city plays a role, the city of Tulsa, the municipal government, right? Because there are some things that the city of Tulsa has a direct influence over. So for example, we oversee our parks department. We have direct influence about how the resources are used, how the maintenance crew does their work, the streets. We have direct influence over those things. So on specific actions that we encounter, we consider ourselves as a lead in those actions. There are some other types of actions where maybe we might have some role in influencing, but we ultimately need support from the community or a community organization. And so there are other actions where we see ourselves as collaborators. There are other initiatives or actions that the city undertakes where we may not have direct influence or we may not have direct expertise. Very similar to this issue, I am by no means an expert in monarch butterflies or pollinators or biology. I did not do very well in high school, but I do see us definitely as a support. So in any way that the city can use our role, the mayor's office, any resources that we have to advance the goal of making the city of Tulsa a monarch-friendly city, we are ready to collaborate, and we're so excited that, again, we have individuals that have been champions for this issue. So as part of this action, on April 13th, we actually made Tulsa a monarch butterfly monarch city. So as part of this effort, we announced this on April 13th, just about 2 weeks ago, at the Spring Festival, and we made a formal proclamation that not only made April 13th Monarch Butterfly Day, but then also we want to help increase awareness and communication of how Tulsans can support monarch butterflies, whether it's in their personal or professional lives. So alongside with this proclamation, we've also took on the National Wildlife Federation's Mayor's Pledge, which we've committed to completing 8 actions, which puts us actually above the, I think it's 3 actions that are normally required. We're going above and beyond because we're Tulsa. But, thank you. But In addition to launching more communication and spreading more awareness, whether it be on social media or informing our employees, we also want to increase opportunities for milkweed and other plants that promote butterfly-friendly habitats. And ultimately, we also want to support the Monarch Butterfly Festival, the Monarchs on the Mountain Festival. And again, these are things that the community has been leading in historically, and we just want to see the city sees ourselves as just a support, ultimately a pathway for us to all achieve a community-wide success. I know that the mayor is very excited to also especially collaborate with the Tulsa Zoo and the Tulsa Garden Center. And I hope ultimately that through this collaboration that we can improve everyone's experience going through the city. Also increase opportunities for children, for families to learn more about their local community, about their local environment, and also increase the well-being for all Tulsans. So that's all I have, but thank you very much. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Christina. So you're sitting there and you're thinking, all right, we've kind of got you inspired, and you want to get going, you want to take action. So proof is in the pudding. So I used to work for a guy that said it all the time, like every day. I'm like, okay. So I'm going to spend about 5 minutes or so just kind of giving you kind of a head start and sharing information of some of those questions that people always ask about. Well, how big? How many? Where do I get it? When do I plant it? So on and so on. So this picture right here on the left, you can see that's part of one of the brainchilds of Jay Ross, who's our curator of horticulture, sitting over at this table. We put this garden in. It took us about 3 years, but it's really nice, and it's very substantial. Or you can go to another extreme. If you live in an apartment, that doesn't mean you're out of the loop either. You can take action. You can do everything that we've done, just on a smaller scale, and provide much needed resources for pollinators. So you've heard about the Monarch Initiative Tulsa. That's really our mission, is just to share information, put people in connection with the information that they need, and also build collaboratives throughout the city. And towards the end of this slideshow, I'll have examples of some of those collaborative projects that we helped just connect people, if anything. So what is the Monarch Initiative Tulsa? Well, it's a collaborative, and here's the collaboration. All these different organizations have people involved with trying to help us share information with folks. A lot of the stuff that I'll talk about today is on Sustainable Tulsa's website. They host the Monarch Initiative of Tulsa's information. So there's a Monarch tab, and it's all divided out into the different resources. You can also go to okiesformonarchs.org. You'll see resources in this presentation too of things that you could go to that website and get information for. You can also like us on Facebook. We have currently 686 members on Facebook. It's a great place to share pictures, share ideas, and quite honestly, it's where you want to go to find the information to find the plants. So it's quite funny to see the people who find something somewhere and then they post it. It's like, go here, you can find salvia here or whatever. So it's a nice resource to share pictures and share ideas. So again, what Jay touched on, the whole reason behind this is just habitat loss and the importance behind pollinators. This figures from last year. I don't know if that's changed, but it's pretty drastic. And Jay touched on insecticides and just human encroachment and farming practices and so on and so on. So how can we help? Well, Jay touched on that too. We need to offset that loss by taking action in our communities, schools, churches, businesses, living in an apartment. It doesn't matter. You can help the butterflies. You can help pollinators. So that's the beauty about this. Monarch is that keystone species, but everything that you put in to your monarch garden is going to help native wildlife here in Oklahoma in one way or another. And so for an example of that, this is my garden. I was crazy. I'm not a green thumb person. I'm actually a primatologist by trade, but I live in Midtown, and I started my garden by seed just because I'm lazy. But I wouldn't recommend that unless you're going to do like multiple acres. Then you might want to do the seed approach because you just don't know what you're going to get. And so those pictures are from different plants that grew and survived. And of course, one of the most important species is milkweed, obviously, because that's what the monarchs lay their eggs on, and that's what the caterpillars eat. That's the only thing they'll eat. But as you can see on the picture on the right, so the first year was seed. They sort of came up. The second year, everything started doing really nice. And then that second year, I should have started kind of knocking off some of the seed heads on the echinacea, but I left them there for the birds. But unfortunately, the echinacea is like, woohoo, let's just populate your entire flower garden. So this actually spreads throughout my yard. This is just one section of it. So that was taken this last spring. And so it's coming up now, and it doesn't look like that. So I went ahead and pulled a lot of the seed heads off and collected the seeds, but the echinacea had needed to be put in its place. So it was just taken. You can see some flowers worked in there, but man. Okay, so this is one of those things you need to design elements, one of the things you need to consider, and it's a lot of words, but basically it's just about sun, wind, water, soil, and then enjoying it. So 6 hours is what's recommended for full sun, but here in Tulsa, it can get pretty hot. So my garden, my house faces due west, and it seems to do pretty good. So I get that full 6 hours from about 3 o'clock in the afternoon to about 8:30 in the evening. So that's one thing to consider. Wind breaks, butterflies don't do really well, invertebrates don't do really well, especially if they fly with the real windy situation. So you have to consider that, especially if you're a business downtown, in between some of those buildings, it gets really windy. You're probably not going to have much success if it's like a wind tunnel. Preparing the soil, just manually removing the whatever area you want to put it in and preparing it. Water source, not only just for the plants. When you first put the plants in or seeds, you have to water for at least 4 to 6 weeks, depending on the weather. But it's nice to have a water source for the butterflies, for the monarchs. And it's actually part of the certification if you're going to get your garden certified through monarchwatch.org. You're supposed to have a water source, and it's a good source for minerals for them. And then also just checking it out, just seeing it. So I live in Midtown at 24th and Yale, and I have a great big house. I don't have a great big house in Midtown, please. I have a great big bay window that I put the garden right in front of. And so it's wonderful. You get up on Saturday morning and get a cup of coffee and just sit there and look out the window and see the action. It's like that old baseball movie, if you build it, they will come. I had nothing in my yard. Occasionally a bee that would like hang out on a dandelion. Yeah. And I put this in within 2 years. It's like Narnia. I mean, it's crazy. There's so many invertebrates. I've counted 4 different species of bees, wasps. I have hummingbirds. I have other birds trying to predate on the hummingbirds. It's incredible. Another thing to consider is, can't stress it enough, natives. Non-natives are not bad, but natives are preferable, just for that reason, so that multiple species can benefit from it. Also, diversity. I tell people when you're going to put your garden in, to think of it like your 401k. You want to have diversity in it. So you want plants that bloom throughout the year. It's really important for the butterfly. Milkweed is obviously important, but the nectar plants are just as important because, like Jay said, it takes multiple generations for them to do the breeding migration from Mexico to Canada. And then overwintering migration is just that last generation comes all the way back. So they need those nectar plants. They need that fuel to make that journey all the way back. And then perennials, planting things, it does, my garden, it kind of died out, the beautification of it, usually in the midsummer to late summer, but then the goldenrod and other things start popping up. But I've actually went to Home Depot and got marigolds and planted some marigolds to add some color to it, just so it didn't look so low. But other things, just basic things about planting plants in the ground, how to put them in the ground. Also milkweed. So milkweed obviously is the big component of this. If you're going to get a certification through Monarch Watch, you want to have 3 different species of milkweed, usually planted 12 to 14 inches apart. There's no too big of garden, no too small of a garden. If you can't find 3 species of milkweed, we'd recommend putting in at least 10 plants of one milkweed species. The milkweed that I have in the 3 years now, the monarchs and the caterpillars will eat it down to like a toothpick. And you want to have at least enough plants for that need. And but no worries, it comes right back. My milkweed usually gets eaten down, grows back, and gets eaten down again. So, and then also just basic mulch, things to retain water to help, especially for overwintering, and of course water. So there's a little bit of maintenance involved. You know, you got to cultivate the weeds, deadhead the spent blooms, just get new blooming. And in the case of echinacea, you want to get rid of it so it doesn't like take over. Also, moisture is a big deal. And then the last part things happen. So this is a picture taken on the bottom part is actually from my garden. It was a praying mantis that was actually hanging out all camouflaged in the milkweed, waiting for a monarch to come. And he got it and ate his head. And people are like, wow, you didn't stop him? I'm like, no, that's just part of it. I mean, that's just part of the cycle out there. So, I mean, I was ecstatic I had a praying mantis, you know? It's like, cool. The other big thing that Jay talked about, pesticides. So this is a big deal. This word is impossible. I just call them neonics. I think that's acceptable. So those are examples of neonics. You want to avoid them when you go to a gardener or anywhere to purchase material. I contacted Home Depot. Home Depot now, starting in 2018, no longer carries plants that are treated with these types of pesticides. Lowe's, those folks told me that they're about 80%, but starting in 2019, they'll be insecticide-free. Right now at Lowe's, they do require their vendors, if you buy plants from them, and if they have these chemicals on them, that they are labeled. So watch out for those labels. All right, so the plants. This is always the big question. What do I plant? What do I plant? Where do I get them? So this is a resource that was created through the OMPC for Okies for Monarchs. It's applicable for anywhere, if you live anywhere in the state except for maybe the extreme areas of the Panhandle. And you can see it's broken down to 3 different seasons. This resource is available on okiesformonarchs.org. She has some at her table. I have some at my table, the zoo's table. We have a hard copy of it that you can take with you. And so you can't go wrong with these. We call them the Essential 12. Also, if you're just thinking about here in Tulsa, so these are the ones that Carla Grog had suggested. If you know Carla, she's helped with a lot of projects. These are the kind of the go-tos for spring, summer, and fall. Here's also a whole other list of plants that are helpful, and those are pictures taken from the gardens at the zoo. So, you know, people think, oh my gosh, I'm going to have bees, I'm going to have wasps, I'm going to have all these insects I've never had before. But I tell you what, I walk in and out of my porch in my front of my house for 2-3 years now, and these guys don't give a crap about what I'm doing. They're all there for the resources. They don't bother me, I don't bother them. Everybody's happy. Praying mantis is eating all of them. Plant list. So this is a plant list. We have a plant list available via Sandy Schwinn. If you've never met Sandy Schwinn, she's an incredible resource here in the state. She's actually the state representative for monarchwatch.org in the state of Oklahoma. She helped put this list together. We have a copy of her list on the table over there. This is also available on Sustainable Tulsa's website. But if you come to the zoo, you'll be able to learn. Jay Ross has been awesome with actually IDing all the plants. We have a lot of representation of native plants in our gardens. And so if you want to see examples of them, you can come to the zoo and see what they look like. And this list is broken down, as you can see, light periods, bloom periods, water, height. Height is important, especially if you have echinacea. You want to plant that in the back because it's going to get like mine's 4 feet tall. I don't know, it really likes the dirt in Midtown, but some plants don't get that tall. They only get a couple feet tall or a few inches tall. So you have to take that in consideration. We also have non-natives listed. Those are important. We don't want to shun those. Some of them don't do well overwintering, so if you do plant those, you might have to dig some of them up and bring them in. Where to buy. So again, you can go to Sustainable Tulsa's website, click on the Monarch Initiative tab. There's a vendor list there, Okies for Monarchs. This is a resource we developed. Kind of covers a lot of the areas in the state, including seed. So if you have a big piece of property and you want to try to convert it over to natural habitat and you need to reseed it, that's where you would go to get the seeds. And so this is the end of the talk, and this is an example of what you could have at your house, maybe not this large. This is at the zoo. This is our conservation garden. This was a collaborative that was done. Jay and I put a grant together and got a grant through the Association of Zoo Horticulturists, and also the City of Tulsa gave us a grant, education grant, about $5,000 to help with the signage. So I highly recommend. That's what kind of inspired Sheila to take action. She wanted to come out. She just emailed me and said, hey, can I come look at your gardens? And then within that visit, I talked about the National Wildlife Federation's program, and voila. And so I talked earlier about collaboratives. So this is a collaborative. A lot of people don't know that there was a pollinator garden or way station put in at the airport. So American Airlines put in a way station. This is pictures from that. Sustainable Tulsa was a big player in that, and Carla Grog was the person, I think, who actually, did she actually design the garden?
I think so. Dawn, did Carla design the garden for you?
She and Audra.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here's another one. It's over off of Lewis, about 82nd-ish in Lewis. It was a program through the City of Tulsa. There was a real concern about the safety of people walking from an apartment complex to Walmart. And the City of Tulsa has a program called More Than a Sidewalk. And so they were putting in this sidewalk and thought, hey, this is a great opportunity to put in a way station. So they put in a way station with the help of Riverfield Country Day School, Oral Roberts University provided assistance. Carla Garag, I think, assisted with the planning and the design of it as well. It was a really great project. It was when Dewey was the mayor. Here's another one, Oral Roberts University. They have one on campus. I think they might be thinking about putting in a second one. I don't know. I haven't talked to Dr. Korstad in a while. But they do all their own plants. They propagate them right there on campus. And they've given away plants here at First Thursdays. So plants, plants, plants. So this is my little plug here. The zoo is having a pollinator sale. It's our 3rd annual. There's no admission to come into the zoo. You can just come right in and get plants and leave if you'd like. But we'll have 15 different species of plants and 4 different species of milkweeds. So it just runs. It starts Mother's Day's weekend and basically ends on Sunday, the May 20th. So that's it.
So thank you all very much. So we have time for a few questions. Okay. Here.
Thank you. I'm Kara Joy McKee, and Christina, great presentation, all of you. I was looking at the butterfly migration maps the other day, and I noticed that one of our Tulsa sister cities, San Luis Potosi, is also in the migration path. And I wonder, have we talked to our sister city in Mexico about collaborating?
Is this working? Yes. Okay. We have not spoken with them, but that is a great idea. I think we could totally reach out to Tulsa Global Alliance and see how we can connect better, because I know that they're always looking for opportunities for us to strengthen those ties. But what a great idea. I like that. Thanks.
I'd be happy to help, so yay.
And on a national level, there is coordination between a national Monarch plan that's being developed and trying to work with locations in the path of migration in Mexico to see what kinds of conservation activities are being done there too.
Sweet. Other questions?
I'm Joan Krager, and at Crossroads Clubhouse, we're both a Monarch way station, and also my home is a wildlife habitat and a Monarch way station. My request is to neighborhood inspections. I have clover that the monarchs come to, crimson clover, and it gets about 1 foot to 2 feet tall. And my neighbors write me nasty notes, and I let it go to seed because then I don't have to keep restowing it. It's been coming back for over 20 years. Neighborhood inspections comes and measures it, and then they fine me. So a lot of these plants are much taller than what, because I live in a historic district, and my neighbors don't get it yet. They're really, really proud, even though we're the Crow Creek watershed, of their lawn that's, you know, like this tall and bright green, and they've used all sorts of herbicides and insecticides. So what can we do to get neighborhood inspections? Because when they come out and I explain, they look at me like, what is she talking about?
So thank you for that question. And actually, there have been other people that have actually come up to me and talked about this issue, and that's part of I think the whole goal of this is to make our city employees more aware of this new shift, and also ultimately to find ways that our city can better partner with local residents that do want to make their home more butterfly monarch friendly. So the details of that are still in the works, but our hope then is to meet with the specific departments, or including the Parks Department and working in neighborhoods departments, to see how we can work with our ordinances and see where there might be some wiggle room in that. But yes, I think that's definitely something that we need to address. If you would like, I would also recommend contacting your city council representative, or you can also shoot me an email and we can talk about that further. Thank you.
Okay. Another question? Oh, okay.
What about the city right-of-ways? Those are automatic Monarch way stations. The city mows the right-of-ways, and whenever somebody just tries to plant these flowers on the right-of-ways, they get mowed down.
Yeah, that's actually part of one of the actions that we're going to be committing to. We're hoping that in our right-of-way projects, especially some of the stuff that we're working with A Better Way Tulsa, they're another initiative that's working to help clean our right-of-way areas that might have litter on them. We want to also work into those plans how we can make them more monarch butterfly friendly.
Do you have Bryce Brewster's name? She took over the Wild About Tulsa. Bryca Brewer is her name. Do you have her name? Because she's taken over the Wild About Tulsa, and many of the plots that were carefully planted by neighborhoods and schools have been mowed over. And so that, of course, they don't come back. And they don't know really who to talk to about these problems. But I have her contact information if it's okay if I give it to you later.
Yeah, that's great. You can also share my contact information. I can put it back up on the screen so that you guys can.
I tried to get it, but if you would, that'd
Yeah.
be great.
Sure. Okay, one last question, and then we're going to pass the mic around to the booths. Is there another question? All right, here we go.
One thought that comes to my mind is that there are a lot of areas of land owned by companies. I'm thinking like railway areas. That seems like a good place to put a lot of these, pollinator plants. Have we thought about outreach to those organizations that may have some land that can be used for these purposes that otherwise they're not really using per se?
Yes, that's a good question. That's something that the Oklahoma Monarch and Pollinator Plan addresses, are those rights of way for railroads, for highways, for electric lines, for pipelines, those kinds of things. Those are great opportunities for providing native habitat for pollinators and monarchs. And so we're putting together materials that will be helpful to those companies to consider. They have to think about a lot of things, cost and safety and other stuff, but we want to make it easier for them to do that. And we've already had some of those companies contacting us saying we want to participate, we want to use our transmission line for right-of-way habitat for monarchs and pollinators. What can we do? So I think as that awareness continues to grow, there'll be more and more people interested in doing that, and it's a fairly easy thing for them to do. So if it doesn't cost them too much and cost too much time and trouble, then I think they'll be interested. But we're actually providing the resources so they can do that.
Great, well, thank you. So I'm gonna pass the mic around, and we're gonna hear from the booths, and then we obviously still have milkweed left, and actually, you're gonna tell us how they can get milkweed, right? Okay.
Hi, welcome. Thanks everybody for turning out. I'm Mary, and I'm the state director for the Oklahoma Monarch and Pollinators Collaborative. And all right, can you hear me? Mary, Oklahoma Monarch and Pollinators Collaborative. A couple of things you can do today to take action. If you stopped at the first table or you haven't yet, you can go up there. You can use your own cell phone or you can use our iPads, and you can actually go to the Okies for Monarchs website and you can take a pledge. It's as simple as saying, I'll plant some milkweed this year. I'll tell a neighbor. I'll talk to someone at my homeowners association. I'll cut back my fungicide and insecticide use. Really simple steps. You can take the pledge. If you want to register your own garden or patioscape, you can do that as well. But if you take the pledge at the first table, you will be able to get a free milkweed plant at one of the subsequent tables. You can also get a sticker that says, I took the pledge today. If you come on down to my table, if you show me that you've posted on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook or any of your favorite social media channels that you've hashtagged Okies for Monarchs, then I'll also give you some native and organic milkweed seed. So if you want to do that, we would love for you to participate. Anything you can do to help us register this information helps us to keep our benchmarking and our data, and that's going to help us with future grants to buy more seed to do more projects. Anyway, you're welcome to any of the materials on our table. Very excited to be a part of Okies for Monarchs. Absolutely.
I'm seeing all the art signs about the mosquito treatment. So what do you tell us when we have neighbors who shoot their yard to kill mosquitoes? Mosquito free. How does that impact your neighboring houses?
The herbicide or the pesticides that are used to do that have label directions that are intended to prevent drift and things like that that will cause unintended consequences. But it's up to the applicator whether they follow that and do it right and all. So the key there is to read the instructions and apply as directed for the people that are doing it.
So I'm Cassidy, this is Rachel, and our professor Mary Phillips. We're from TCC, the Southeast Campus, and we kind of just started a Monarch way station over there recently, and we just planted them. We've got some flyers here that kind of shows how citizens can get involved. So if you want to come by and pick one of them up.
I think TCC has way stations going in here at this campus. Okay. Okay, so Northeast Campus, Metro, and Southeast will all have Monarch way stations within the year, so that's fabulous. Okay, a new leaf right here.
Hello, my name is Kevin Harper. I'm with a New Leaf. We actually employ adults with developmental disabilities, and we've grown all this milkweed. So if you get your sticker, come by. We'll give you a plant. Stephen and Anita, you guys helped grow it, correct?
Yes, sir.
And he was very excited to do that.
Yes.
So anyway, yeah, come by. We'd love to give it to you. And we also have a Monarch way station as well. So.
And you sell other plants as well, right? Okay, great. Okay, all right. Monarchs on the Mountain.
I'm Marcy Hawkins. I'm the Education and Conservation Director for the Tulsa Urban Wilderness Coalition. I'm also the chair for Monarchs on the Mountain. This will be our third year. It takes place on September 22nd on Turkey Mountain. And many of the people here are also on that committee that are at tables. And we've really developed a wonderful opportunity for the public to come and enjoy a fun, free festival that will be educational for both children and adults. And I hope to see many of you there. We're also selling t-shirts, but it's so exciting to see what's happening in Tulsa and in Oklahoma. So just keep up the good work. If you have any questions about the event, want to participate, let me know. September 22nd from, I believe it's at 9 to 2? 10 to 2. 10 to 2 on Turkey Mountain. Shuttles are available, and there's off-site parking that is very close, so you don't have to worry about the overcrowding.
Hi, my name is Mary Jackson. I'm with Tulsa Audubon Society. I'm here to tell you about our 25th annual Backyard Habitat Garden Tour and Native Plant Sale. The purpose of our plant tour is to encourage people to go ahead and plant more native plants in their yards to bring in more birds, bees, and butterflies. This year, 2 of our gardens are certified Monarch way stations. One is actually the first house that was certified here within Tulsa. and the other one's actually a school. So if you're involved with the school, you can see what they've done at their school for the Monarch Way Station and other butterflies. And 2 of the other gardens are National Wildlife Certified gardens, which means they garden for all different types of wildlife. The garden tour this year, it runs from about 45th in Harvard down to about 19th in Peoria. It costs $6 to get in, and it's May 19th and 20th, which is the weekend of Mayfest. So you can go to Mayfest and then come to the garden tour, or go back, or do it the other way around also. Might be better, because we also bring in the native plant vendors there to the yards. So you can go ahead and buy your milkweed for the butterflies, you can buy your nectar plants for the butterflies, and you also can buy plants for birds. So come see us, and we have various plant lists. I've got the little handout here that's got the addresses of the garden tours and which native plant vendors will be at which house. I just that you ask that you be a little bit respectful. Don't go by the houses until the weekend of the garden tour. We don't want to bother the homeowners until then. So thank you.
Alene Island, Tulsa County Master Gardeners and Tulsa Audubon Society would like to invite you to a new free event. Please pick up a flyer on this: Monarchs, Milkweeds, and More. We are going to have Sandy Swin, as Rick has already talked about, the Monarch Conservationist for Oklahoma, be there and speak on 4 different topics from 9 to 3 p.m. This is at the Exchange Center at the Expo Square. We invite everybody to come, educators especially. It's a great training session. We will have plant sales going on as well, so you can get your nectar plants, your native plants, pollinators, and it's primarily on monarchs, but we'll be discussing all types of butterfly gardening. Thank you.
So much going on. Okay, Tulsa County Conservation District.
I'm Gabrielle Parker, and I work for the Tulsa County Conservation District, part of the Oklahoma Conservation Commission. We do a lot of education and outreach throughout Tulsa County, along with we help other counties with their education outreach as well. We also work with the USDA Natural Resource Conservation Service, and actually on my table today I have some information about their Monarch Butterfly Initiative through one of their EQIP program through the Farm Bill. So if you have anybody interested who, it doesn't matter size of property, if they want to plant some native milkweed, come by, we can have somebody in our office talk to them about getting financial assistance as far as helping with their Monarch Butterfly Initiative. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, Crow Creek.
Hi, I'm Jean Lemon with the Oklahoma Conservation Commission, and the Crow Creek community is a collaboration of citizens, state, county, city, and federal governments, and some other people as well. And basically what we're doing, what we're here representing today, is we have a demonstration area where we've taken some flood buyout lots where houses were continually flooded. They've been torn down, and the land was planted in Bermuda grass. And we're trying to turn that into a meadow. And it's an experiment. We're learning as we go along. All of us, I think, are learning. But it's fantastic, and so we would invite you to come by on Saturday, May 12th. We're going to have a sort of stop by and visit and see what's there. We will have some work to do. If you want to help us garden, or if you want to clean Crow Creek, that's great. If you just want to stop by, we'd love to have you come by. And the garden, this demonstration area is just west of Peoria on 33rd Place, just south of Crow Creek. At the north end of Brookside.
Hi, I'm Chris Oler with the City of Broken Arrow Parks Department. We're proud to be here to represent the City of Broken Arrow, and this is our second year being part of the Monarch movement. We have established 7 different locations throughout our community last year, and we added 4 more this year. Thanks to Jay for your input and helping us out to get things started, and Marcy too. And we're kind of new at it, but we're enjoying it and seeing good results. So.
Thank you. All right, Jay?
Yeah, I'm Jay Ross. I'm horticulturist out at the zoo. We've got a plethora of information here that Rick pulled together about monarchs and all these different organizations he's involved with. I'll plug the Pollinator plant sale that Rick mentioned. Starts a week from tomorrow. Basically runs a week with the 2 weekends, covers Public Garden Day and Mother's Day, so come out and get Ma something. Start a way station for Mom, and you can as well. These are all representative of the plants we will have in our sale, and take a chance to look at the garden Rick was showing you. Thank you.
All right, and the Tulsa Garden Center.
I'm not going to belabor the point since Rick and Jay have also, all of us are part of the Monarch Initiative of Tulsa. The one thing we are proud of is our milkweed is planted. It's about a foot high now, and we are anxiously awaiting the monarchs to come. They are at the entrance to the garden center, so if you want to see what milkweed looks like in bloom, come on over.
Great. Well, let's give them all a round of applause for all their hard work. So please, for the remaining time that you have, visit the booths, come and get some milkweed, and plant that Monarch Way Station today. Thank you so much. We'll see you next month.